Currently pending before the United States Senate is a bipartisan resolution calling on the Russian government to hand Edward Snowden over to U.S. authorities. The resolution says that Russia's willingness to provide shelter to Edward Snowden is, quote, negatively impacting the U.S.-Russia relationship. And it recommends taking actions, including recommending a different location for the September 2013 G20 summit in St. Petersburg, Russia, if Edward Snowden isn't handed over. In a statement, one of the co-sponsors of the resolution, Senator Lindsey Graham, says, on multiple fronts, Russia is becoming one of the bad actors in the world. And then here was Senator John McCain talking recently about Russian President Putin.
He is a person who feels so emboldened these days that he doesn't mind sticking his thumb right in our eye, which is what he's doing in this Snowden case.
You see, lawmakers in Washington just can't understand what the heck is going on here. They're absolutely enraged by the fact that Russia, an ally, isn't doing them a favor in handing over Snowden, a man who some in Congress believe is some sort of terrorist traitor or something. I mean, to senators like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, it would sort of be like if the United States was harboring a man who Russia calls a terrorist, ignoring calls for his extradition, and ultimately granting him political asylum. And the United States wouldn't do that, right? Right? Rewind to 2004. Read the headline. U.S. asylum for Chechen draws protest from Russia. Quote, the Russian government will protest a U.S. decision to grant asylum to an exiled Chechen leader considered a terrorist by the Russian government. Yep, this is Ilyas Akhmatov, a man who Russia alleges was involved in Chechen terrorism. He took refuge and applied for asylum in the United States in 2002. Russia demanded he be turned over, but a slew of top American government officials and members of Congress ran to his defense, including one man in particular, Senator John McCain. In a 2003 letter to then Homeland Security Secretary Tom Ridge, McCain wrote, I have met with Mr. Akhmatov on 3 occasions. I have found him to be a proponent of peace and human rights in Chechnya. Akhmatov was given asylum. He was put up in an apartment here in downtown Washington, D.C., next to the National Zoo. Today, 9 years later, as the Snowden saga unfolds, a spokesperson for the Russian Interior Ministry reminded the United States of the case of Ilyas Akhmatov, saying, quote, law agencies asked the U.S. on many occasions to extradite wanted criminals through Interpol channels, but those requests were neither met nor even responded to. Now, the nation of Ecuador can say the same thing. They've been trying to get 2 banker brothers extradited back after being convicted of embezzlement. But the U.S. hasn't complied, and the 2 brothers are living a cushy life in South Florida. And it remains to be seen whether or not the U.S. will hand over recently arrested former CIA agent Robert Seldon Lacey over to Italy, where he's wanted to serve prison time on kidnapping conviction. Now, whether the United States should or shouldn't have ignored extradition requests or granted asylum isn't the issue. The issue is they did, thus recognizing that extradition requests go beyond the confines of cultural relativism. So as the United States pressures China, Russia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and other nations on Snowden, it should be remembered that a precedent has already been set on this issue of extradition. And it's the United States that set it. In Washington, Sam Sacks, RT.